Alright, welcome back to Hardware Basics. Today we're going to be talking about supporting mobile devices. Okay, so we're going to describe various types of mobile devices, identify and use significant features of Android, iOS and Windows Mobile. Configure wired and wireless connections on mobile devices, install and configure Internet of Things devices. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and troubleshooting common problems. So, moving forward. So, when we're talking mobile devices, we're looking at things like your smartphones, tablets, any lightweight laptops, and look, these days we've even got these laptops out that have got two screens, e-readers like a Kindle. I don't really see the point of an e-reader, but my mother really likes her Kindle and her little books on Kindle. GPS, one of those things that I don't use anymore. I really did like my TomTom. Now I've got a mobile phone that does all that. It's not really a device that I go out and buy. Any wearable technology, like a smartwatch. And honestly, look, I didn't think I'd get a smartwatch. Having to charge one every day would be a real pain, but the one I got, technology's improved, and my smartwatch will go for 5 days, and it's great. You get a notification, you don't have to pull your phone out of your pocket, simply look at your watch and move forward. And then also virtual reality or augmented reality headsets. Now these things seem pretty cool, and they're becoming more and more popular these days, and in the future the technology is going to become very good, and you'll have look, I foresee applications where you're in Google Maps and you'll be able to wander around a store and pick up items on the shelf and turn them around and read the label. That's the way I see things going. I will actually, now that I'm thinking of that, just going to Google Maps. And I'm going to find a store. Now, let me bring that over to your screen. Where you can see. So if I go to this store here, I can click on this. This is actually a store in Fyshwick. A supplement store. And as you can see, this is not just on the street. This is inside the store. I can wander around. Obviously this is not live. Someone has taken images, and I can wander around the store. And I don't even need a VR device for this, but in the future I foresee us using VR devices in a similar way. Now I can't pick up items in this store in Google Maps, but as we go along, we'll really be able to do some cool things. There we go. I thought you'd find that interesting. Alright. So here is an example of a virtual reality device. So this is an Oculus Rift. You can connect that with a computer, and away you go, and use any of those programs that are available in that format. So the most popular mobile OSs are Android, and Android is made by Google. It's based on Linux. It is the most popular OS for smartphones, for non-Apple smartphones. There's iOS by Apple, and it's based on Mac OS. And then there's Windows 10 Mobile by Microsoft. And Microsoft is making great advances, and you can connect your Xbox controller to your computer and link to your Xbox and play your games on your computer. So that seems pretty cool. Alright, so Android is managed by Google. It's based on Linux and uses the Linux kernel. Linux and Android are open source, right? So everybody knows how it's made, and there are people contributing to this, like Linux. So releases for Android have generally been based on dessert names. So you've had things like ice cream sandwich, and yes, I know that's not the first one, but we'll get to that in a minute. That's about version 4. Jelly bean, Kit Kat, lollipop, marshmallow, nougat, Oreo, and pie. And here's actually a list of all the versions so far. I know this says to be announced for Android 12. That will be out in August 21. So, but there you can see, and these were the release dates. There's plenty of information out there if you want to go back, have a trip down memory lane and have a bit of a look into that. By all means. So this is a picture of a Nexus smartphone that has Android Oreo. And as you can see, you've got your favorites down here. You can usually fit about 4 or 5 favorites down the bottom. And then you've got your standard buttons for Android. So your back, your home, and an overview. And those are customizable. You can move those things around. Right, so Android OS can use an embedded browser, so its own browser, rather than Chrome or Firefox or anything else. Manage data using SQLite, just a different version of SQL, if you're familiar with SQL databases. Connect to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular networks. And up to, as I said, up to 5 apps or groups of apps that can be pinned to the favorites tray. You've got your push notifications that provide alerts. So any apps or social media. My phone in particular says, oh, you swipe away on this a lot. Do you want to stop reminding you or letting you get notifications about this? And you'll have a digital assistant or a service or app that responds to users' voice commands. So you've got Google, you've got Bixby, on your home devices. You've got Alexa and things like that, but we'll get into that a bit more in a minute. Usually, you probably can't see it here, but there's usually a little microphone on this Google search bar here, and rather than click in there and type something, you can actually speak. Click the microphone and speak, and it'll pull up what you need. I'm not used to having this down the bottom. I don't know what sort of models have them down there below the favorites, but usually I see favorites here, your standard navigation just below that, and then a bar somewhere where you choose to put it on one of the tile sections. Alright, so you've got a notification shade. So usually on your Android device, you can touch the top of the screen and drag down, and then you can open up those notifications and maybe select I want to turn my torch on, or I want to turn Wi-Fi on and off, or I want to cast to Chromecast, any of those sorts of things. I quite often use this to pop things down, to put the flashlight on quite quickly, and also have a look at any messages. You know, someone sent me a Facebook message or something like that where they can read, where if I click on it, it comes up red and it says, oh, that person's read it. If I slide this down, it doesn't actually inform them that I've read it, and I look at it and I go, oh, I don't want to deal with that. So I just pop it back up and ignore it. I'll deal with that later. So, Android apps are sold and freely distributed from any source or vendor. So you have Google Play, which is the official source for apps. A Google account is required to download the content from Google Play. And, you know, paid apps and free apps. There's also alternatives like APK Mirror, APK for Fun, APK Pure, Android APK. I'm sure you may know of others, but these are the real big ones. So you can go out there and find some alternative sort of things out there, all free. To develop Android apps, a developer can download Android Studio. Included in it is an Android software developer kit and an Android emulator. And just to note, Android Studio is free and it's also open source. So if you ever think, oh geez, I've got an idea for an app. I don't like dating profiles, we'll have to read everything, and I just want to swipe on someone's photo. Next thing you know, you're a millionaire. Alright, so this is just an example of the Play Store, where you can get, you know, music, movies, games, all sorts of things. And now we'll switch to iOS. So Apple develops, manufactures and sells the Apple iPhone and iPad, as well as their other devices. Both use iOS operating system, which Apple developed. They're closed source, they're not open source. They're very restrictive in what they do. iOS is based on macOS. The latest release at this time is OS 14, 14.5, 14.6, something like that. I don't really use Apple iPhone. And then as we've been moving along, so you may remember when we had phones where you could take the battery out, and then they stopped doing that, and people complained that, oh, I'm not going to buy a phone that I can't take the battery out. And then they took away the headphone jack, and people said, I'm not going to use a phone that I can't use a headphone jack. Well, at least I say that. There's plenty of people that have adapted. The home button, removing the home button, some manufacturers put those on the back, and now others are putting it just underneath the screen. I do like a physical home button, and I really find that it's very useful on the back of the phone. Got to have that headphone jack. It's just so important to me. All right, this is just your app switcher. Right, so iOS apps are only available through the App Store. Not true, but you kind of have to jailbreak your phone to get them. And that causes some issues for you later on, especially with Apple and warranty, and you know, any help. They won't provide any help if they see that you've jailbroken the iPhone. So any apps that are created must be approved by Apple before they go on the App Store, and even quite early in the piece, Steve Jobs was saying, oh look, you know, someone sends us an app and they say it does this, and we look into the code and we realize that's such a lie. That's not really doing that. This is doing this. This is a trick. We're not going to allow this app on the App Store. So your iPad or iPods or iPhone must be activated by signing into the device with an Apple ID. And you can get your apps on App Store or iTunes. That's just a picture of that. Alright, now let's talk about Windows Mobile. Windows Mobile by Microsoft is a simplified version of Windows OS designed for desktops, laptops and tablets. Okay, they want to get everybody using Windows 10. So have things across many devices, people getting used to it. Windows Mobile does not have a desktop screen, but this is how it's sort of set up with its tiles. And you'll probably remember when Windows 8 came out and you click the start button and everything's tiles. And they did a revision in Windows 10 where it's not so intrusive, but they've still got some of those things in there. And you've got your notifications that appear in the Action Center for your Windows, similar to Android. Windows Mobile apps, availability of apps is limited, more limited than what could be found in Android or iOS. It's a smaller store. They're really trying to grow that. You'll get that through these apps through the Microsoft Store, and they can also be obtained from third-party websites in your browser with your mobile. Alright, so talking about open source and closed source operating systems. So, developers for iOS, it's closed source. Apps must be tested and approved before being sold in the App Store. Better assurance for high quality apps. Centralized app purchasing. Right, but with Android apps, it's open source. It can be obtained from many sources, and I've named a few. There's no assurance of quality. Market is not always convenient for developers, and there's many variations of Android that exist that can create incompatibilities. So we really want to be up to date with the latest Android version so that we know that we have the maximum functionality for our device. Right, so your mobile device has several antennas. So you've got your Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, NFC, near field communication, right? So you tap and go. These people in the supermarket, it takes 2 seconds to pull out your credit card, but people go in there and they search through their phone and they find the app, and then they want to tap on the thing, and then they go, oh, I haven't transferred money yet, and then they go, just a second, and then they go back to their bank account, and then they transfer it to the bank account that they're paying for things. It's the new version of the old lady in the checkout counting 1 and 2 cent pieces slowly. I don't know. Anyway, I'll get off my rant there. Settings on the device allow you to enable and disable each antenna. Network connections are configured using a settings area. Alright, so you can set up your Wi-Fi and connect to whatever Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth device. Bluetooth headphones and speakers are awesome. Really great these days. You've got some decent life. My Bluetooth headphones are like 30 hours battery life. You can play a YouTube video and get up and wander around the house and do some washing up and some cooking and all that sort of thing. Got some really good range. Alright, so tethering and mobile hotspots. When a mobile device is connected to the internet by way of a cellular network, you can allow other computers and devices to use this same connection. Right, so if you've got a laptop and you don't have Wi-Fi that you can connect to, or you don't trust the public free Wi-Fi, you can then connect to your mobile phone and then use the data from your mobile phone. And obviously the data packages are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and shortly in the future you'll have unlimited plans for data. That is coming soon. So to use your phone for tethering and providing mobile hotspots, your carrier subscription must allow it. So just make sure those settings are available. When buying accessories for a mobile device, be sure to check what ports and slots are available on the device. Many mobile devices no longer include replaceable batteries. That's true. Newer iPhones, iPods and iPads use proprietary Lightning port. These days the Android devices usually have USB-C, which is brilliant stuff. Some mobile phones are coming out with eSIMs rather than having a SIM card slot. Some of them you can put in extra storage and some of them you can't. So we had our micro USB, and that was for Android, and that did the job, but USB is so much better. USB-C is so much better. The data throughput that you can get through USB-C is huge. You can on your computer you could connect a USB-C hub and then connect multiple USB devices, HDMI, all sorts of things. Ethernet connection. The amount of data you can get through one of those is excellent. They do tend to be a bit flimsy compared to USB-A, but they did want these things to be smaller, so we're going across multiple devices. Alright, wireless connections for accessories. Bluetooth is a short-range wireless technology to connect two devices in a small personal area network, PAN. Devices must be paired, right? So you go, you search for the device, you click on select the device and you go, yes, I want to pair with that one. We're pairing. Bluetooth 5, you can connect to two Bluetooth devices rather than Bluetooth 4, which was you just stuck with the one. So I can connect via Bluetooth to my smartwatch, and that data of how many steps, heart rate, all that sort of thing can be synced with my phone, while I can also use my Bluetooth speaker or headphones. Near field communication, NFC, wireless technology that establishes a communication link between two NFC devices that are within 10 centimeters of each other. Alright, so we've already talked about connecting them for using them for contactless credit card payments, but you can also use them for sending a photo, sending a video file to someone else's mobile device. Okay, and NFC contains a little microchip. It's sort of like RFID. Right, so device access controls. So, with the screen lock, you've got different settings that you can use. You can have a swipe lock. Not sure if iOS devices, Apple iPhones, still use the swipe across. A pin lock, very popular across all devices. A passcode lock. You've also got a pattern lock, one of my favorites, love the pattern lock. Then you've got fingerprint, also very useful, and face lock. But people have complained about face lock. They glance over at their phone and next thing you know, boom, it opens. So there's pros and cons, but we're moving forward all the time in our technology, and we sort of figure out what we like, what we don't like. So things like the zip drives. You had the 3.5-inch floppy drive. It was 1.44 megabytes. Zip drives came out. They were 100 megabytes. Then they were 2 gigabytes. At the same time, USB flash drives were coming out, but the technology wasn't that great, and eventually the technology overtook, and people had a preference for that. Right, so you've got screen lock options such as restrict failed login attempts, where you have, after a certain amount of attempts, you have a waiting period before you can attempt again, and then you try again and the waiting period gets longer. So you go down to the shop to get something and you come back and your girlfriend's been playing with your phone and you have to wait 23 years before you can try again. No, probably not that long, but anyway, or you can have things set so that after a certain amount of attempts, you specify that data be erased from the phone, right? It's just for your personal security. Full device encryption. You can then have all data encrypted on your device, and I'm pretty sure that you'd be familiar with multi-factor authentication. 2 forms of authentication, so not just knowing the password, but you've got to have your device, and an SMS goes to your device, or a push notification goes to your device, and then and only then you can then get in. Or you have a specific device. I had a internet banking setup where you'd actually have to use their own electronic device to be able to get into your banking system. And if you lose that device, then you can't get in your bank account. Oops. Software can help you secure data. OS updates and patches, very important. The reason why they're bringing them out, not only to improve your functionality of your operating system, but also to make sure that when a loophole has been exposed, when someone's found, oh, I can't get in this way and I can't get in that way, but because of the rules that are established here, I can get through this way, and then I can wreak havoc. So they go, okay, we got to find a way to patch this hole and stop hackers from getting in. Also, antivirus or anti-malware. One of the most popular anti-malware is Malwarebytes. Firewalls, stopping unwanted traffic getting in. And then you've got a phone locator app, and you can also remote wipe your phone. Alright, so mobiles in a corporate environment. BYOD stands for Bring Your Own Device. More common these days. An employee or a student is allowed to connect his own device to the corporate network. For security purposes, an organization configures the person's device before allowing it to connect to the network. So there's set rules on their network that says, you must obey these rules, otherwise we're not going to let you in. And one of the more restrictive ones is email accounts. So if you want to set up your work email on your phone, you will find that the email server says, well, if you want to connect to us, we're enforcing these rules on you. And if you're one of those people that don't use a passcode lock or a pattern lock or something like that, you just leave it open all the time, the email server will clamp down and say, no, you must now set a password. You must secure this device because our sensitive emails are very important and we want to secure that information. All right. And also, look, with let's say if you're not bringing your own device and your boss um, issues you an iPhone, they then have the right, not the right to track you, but the right to track their device. And I have had that happen before, where they're using it inappropriately to track employees. But, under the rules, they say, we're just making sure our device is secure. Oh, there's Mario. Okay. IoT, Internet of Things. Devices connected to the internet for a specific purpose, such as a smart thermostat, so like a heater. Let's say you want to heat up your house. There's an hour to go before you get home, or you're just about to leave and it's half an hour to get home, and you turn your heater on before you get in your car, so that things are a little bit warmer by the time you get home. In this part of the chapter, you'll learn about wireless technologies used by Internet of Things devices and how to set up a smart network. All right, so let's begin. Besides Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, there are technologies called Z-Wave and Zigbee. Now, these two guys are similar, but they're not the same. So you're either Z-Wave or you're Zigbee. Commonly used for smart locks, smart bulbs, your smart fridge, your smart toaster, all that sort of stuff. So Z-Wave and Zigbee are not compatible with each other. Typically, Zigbee and Z-Wave compete equally for the same smart home device wireless standard of choice. Another standard used in IoT is RFID. So you would know these little key swab RFID things from if you live in an apartment block, or if you've got gym membership, 24-hour gym membership, and you've got to swipe in, those little tags are RFID. All right, so for the most basic of smart homes, you will need a smartphone or a tablet, Wi-Fi with internet access, smart home devices, so light bulbs, and you can change the color of the light bulb. Let's say your light switch is at the other end of the hallway and you're scared of the dark. You can then use your phone to turn on your smart light bulb and walk in the light in the middle of the night if you need to. Talked about heaters, security cameras, very cool. So I can get on my mobile device and I can go and look at my house inside or out, or a shop that I own or something like that, from the ease of my mobile. Also door locks, doorbells. You'll have a doorbell with a camera on it. Someone rings your doorbell. You can then look through the camera on your smartphone and talk to the person at your doorbell, and they'll think that you're at home. Refrigerators, televisions, sound systems, all sorts of things. Look, cool stuff, but your network is vulnerable at your weakest point. So if you've got a smart toaster and it's not secure, smart TV. I'm sure we've heard about smart TVs where, yes, okay, the camera can see your gestures and all those sorts of things to change channels and turn the volume down. It can also be used in reverse for someone else to watch you in your living room. I don't think I'd be very interesting to watch while I'm watching TV, but Gogglebox. All right, so and oh yeah, for refrigerators, people can. There are refrigerators out there, and they are high end, very expensive. But you could, some of these refrigerators scan your milk and say, oh, you need more milk, and orders your milk. Well, someone could get in there and order you 100 bottles of milk. So security on these devices needs work. and this will happen. So for smart devices to be Internet of Things devices, you must be able to control them over the internet. So this is an example of a smart home network. So you've got your Wi-Fi router, and then you can connect to your other devices, and then you'll have one for Zigbee or Z-Wave to connect to those smart devices. You can enhance a smart home network with a smart speaker, with a digital assistant. So, for example, Alexa, and Echo devices from Amazon. I haven't used an Echo device. Google Assistant and Google Home, your little Nest Minis and things like that. Siri and the HomePod by Apple. And you can ask that to turn your TV on and open up Netflix to a particular TV series that you like. Controller Hub can control smart devices that use different manufacturer apps. And they're also called a Smart Home Hub. That's a pretty old picture of a hub. Smart speaker. Alright, so starting over with the factory reset. A factory reset erases all data and settings. So you may want to back up all your data first. You can factory reset from the settings app. You can factory reset from a hard boot, that's in Android. Or you can factory reset and restore from iTunes. So common problems: short battery life, disable wireless connections and close apps when you're not using them. You may need to look into replacing the battery. And also inaccurate touchscreen response could be inhibited by the cover. If the cover's too thick, check accessibility settings in your settings app. Clean the screen with a soft, damp cloth. Don't use the touchscreen when your hands are wet. It doesn't seem to pick things up very well. Try restarting your device. Usually, look, if you've got little glitches like that, one of those ones and one of those zeros is in the wrong place. That's all it takes. Next thing you know, things go haywire. Okay, my phone's acting sluggish. Let's do a reset. Start from fresh. And then, of course, try uninstalling any recent installed third-party apps. Apps that didn't come with your phone. And especially when you jailbreak an iPhone and you're using Cydia or something like that, it will, I've seen it where, you install a new app and it conflicts with a different app and then things go really haywire. Same with any of this stuff that's not on the Google Play Store. So things to be aware of. So just take notice when you're working with these apps that aren't on your big stores. So that is everything for today. Thanks for your time.